I don't know if this is gonna work. Fader juggling, touching EQs, survive it. It is soul-sucking. My name is Ken Pooch Van Druten. I am the front of house engineer for the heavy metal act Iron Maiden. We are in Amsterdam today at the Ziggo Dome.
What are 3 things you wish more people knew about mixing live sound?
I guess I wish that more people understood that there's a lot more politics involved than just simply making it sound the best out here. Not only am I an advocate for the crowd, the band is hearing stuff as well, right? They're hearing the room, but they're hearing it behind speakers. So sometimes I have to make adjustments, making the band comfortable. There's a whole human side to what we do. The interaction that you have with other humans dictate whether or not you're gonna be able to keep a gig. Yes, you have to learn all this gear, you have to learn how it works, but also study a little bit of psychology. What makes me good at what I do is not necessarily that I'm good at what this is, although I am and I can deliver. What makes me good is being able to walk into a room full of people and identify what those people need immediately and be able to react to whatever their needs are. To be a world-class engineer means that you're delivering the same product every night, hard surfaces, glass on the walls, all the things that change every single day. If you can deliver the same product to the audience in those situations, that's what makes you a world-class engineer. I did a tour with Justin Bieber in 2017. One of the hardest tours in the world, mainly because there was a 200-foot thrust in front of the PA that the artist spent most of his show on, which is not a place that you want a microphone to be. To say that that was a difficult thing is an understatement. Getting gain before feedback in that situation is so difficult. It is soul-sucking. Basically, I was like, I don't know if this is gonna work. When he would step in front of the PA, I would EQ frequencies out of it in order to survive it. And there were definitely nights where I struggled to get him over the top without feedback happening. In live sound, unlike making records, when something breaks, that's a huge thing. So we spent a lot of time choosing the gear that is consistent, doesn't fail, and keeps going. So 9 years ago, there was a super rack in here. This year, I added a live box on top of the super rack. So I have the super rack going through the Waves card here of the Q7, whereas the live box is kind of an all-internal unit where all the networking is inside, but the output of it is Dante. So I have a Dante going to a Dante 64 card that is DMI card that is in the console itself. So it's 2 separate networks running and doing 2 totally different things. You know, the super rack is all of my outboard plug-in things, you know, buses, etc., individual inputs, those kind of things. Whereas the live box, I'm utilizing the D-Feedback plugin, which is a VST plugin, which doesn't work on Super Rack, works on live box. Very, very happy with the results of how that's working. Really a game changer. I have a bunch of analog gear that I use on top of that, but for the most part, those 2 things, the Super Rack and the live box, are the heart. I actually purchased a live box in January of this year, so I've been using it now for 6 months, let's say. The consistency of it is amazing. The ability to use other plugins besides Wave plugins, VST plugins, along with Waves plugins is the reason that I went there, specifically for DeFeedback. DeFeedback is authorized to be used on the Waves live box. You can't get the same amount of instances on DeFeedback without the Waves live box. So right now, it is the answer. So I'm using the live box exclusively for Bruce's vocal chain. The first plugin that you see right here is the DeFeedback. A couple of times I started with 75%. I've ended up now at 90% because of how loud our stage is. It's a very loud stage. Second plugin in the chain is CLA2A. CLA2A is a modeled plugin after the LA2A. It's basically doing overall vocal compression. That's its whole job. After that, we've got C6. And I use the C6 as kind of an EQ, and then also to have some of the dynamic compression happening, but not a whole lot in that first C6. Then there's an F6, and that is doing a lot more dynamic compression, and it's super surgical strike compression, real narrow filters and nailing things as he goes from his belly voice to his chest voice. That's what that F6 does. Also this SSL EQ along with the C6. So the C6 you can see is cutting a bunch of lower frequencies and then doing some compression. But with the SSL, that's like the overall kind of EQ that I'm using. And then I use X feedback. It's only used when he gets in a situation where he is right in front of the PA. We have these runners on the right and the left-hand side of the stage where he comes all the way out and he is probably, I don't know, 2 or 3 feet in front of the PA. And if I'm struggling that night, that's what X feedback is for. Pop that in and boom, go. Then on the ass end, I've got a F6, which is way less surgical strike than the other F6. This one is kind of globally compressing, but just little bits, like I'm talking about 2 dB worth of dynamic compression. So that's my vocal chain. To feedback, CLA 2A, C6, F6, SSL, X feedback, and F6 on the end. Man, more so than any other band, the bass guitar is the focus. You hear the vocal, and then the bass guitar is almost louder than everything else in the mix. And that's the way that the records have always been. And so I do that live as well. Bass guitar is big and loud. On the actual bass DI channel itself, this is the chain. So it's CLA 76, which is LA 76. That's overall compression. It also has some relatively slow attack because I like to let transients through of his bass guitar. So that's that. Next is our bass. Then after that is the BB tubes. If you're not hip to harmonic distortion, get hip to it. Harmonic distortion is the new way. It's the way to make your mixes be better than anyone else's. This is one of the plugins that does that. Here is a C6 on the end, and it's kind of just doing tickly global compression. Now, also on the bass guitar is on the bass group, this is what's happening. There's a Vitamin at the top of that. I really like what Vitamin does. It does some spatial things, but it does some really cool EQ things as well. Another CLA 2A, and then 2 different F6s that are doing different EQ and different dynamic compressions. Those plugins, I'm mixing into them. So I'm mixing, the first part that you saw was the individual channel, so that's on the insert. But this is the actual insert of the group, so I'm mixing into them, and it helps to manage when he's playing really loud or playing very softly. So that's the reasoning behind having all those plugins. So that's the bass guitar at Iron Maiden. I love what I do, and the original thing that brought me to becoming an engineer and a producer and a recording engineer, all of those things, was my love for music. And I started as a musician. Still to this day, to have the opportunities to work with some of the best musicians in the world keeps me coming back. There is no feeling better than pushing a guitar solo and having 80,000 people react to something that you're doing. That is a drug that the musicians get, and it's a drug that I get too. Still gives me, look, I got goosebumps right now. And that's what I keep coming back for.